So that was my song. That was actually this guy's song, Duke Ellington. And that's my musical portion for the show today. And now we're going to go on to my answering your questions. Dungeons of the Discarded writes, big fan of Imaginos, one of my favorite concept albums. One thing that stood out in its various incarnation is the track order. I've heard that the order on the BOC version was the result of record label shuffling it to create a more commercial-friendly product, to the detriment of the narrative. What's always made the most sense to me narratively is the order on the original demo tape, beginning in medias res before jumping back to taking the story mostly chronologically, save for only revealing the history of the Invisible Ones after Imaginos becomes their servant and learns it for himself. I was rather surprised when I finally got my hands on the Re Imaginos and saw the track order had been changed again, and I've struggled to parse the meaning of this new presentation. So, I suppose my question is, what is the reasoning or explanation behind the revised track order on Re Imaginos compared to the original demo? Signed, Nova Carol Nathan. All right, that's an excellent question. And I think I've talked about this in some of those 100 interviews that I did last year about the record. Well, Re Imaginos starts the same way as every version of Imaginos has, with I Am the One You Warn Me Of. Chronologically, it was one of the first songs that I wrote for the record. It's kind of a good exposition song that kind of tells, you know, it's kind of like one of those, I don't know, a John Wick movie or something where this whole crazy thing happens in the beginning and then it sinks into the story after that. So I think that this is a logical thing. Now, and this person said beginning in medias res. So anybody out there who has never taken Latin in high school, that means starting the story from in the middle. Okay, so let me start with this. When I binge watch a series and I haven't seen the first few episodes, it doesn't bother me. Why? Because every story starts in the middle. Even the story about when you're born, it starts when your parents met and when their parents met and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is, you know, I guess the big, you know, in the beginning there was nothing and then there was the Big Bang and created everything. Who knows? I don't know. But every story, most every story, doesn't really have a beginning. It starts from somewhere else. You're always starting in the middle. I'm just going to go quickly through it. Maybe this is a better way to answer it. So, one. So Imaginos realizes he has all this power, but he's still just a lad of 10 or 11 years old. You know, but he's he's letting you know that he's got it, whatever it is. He's born in 1908. And now it's 29. So he's 21 years old. He goes to New Orleans to find his treasure. Then he decides that his treasure isn't there and that he needs to go back to the land of his birth, which is England, where he hears about this guy Frankenstein and goes to visit him in his castle. That's Siege and Investiture. Then once he finds the drug, he tries it out on his girlfriend, and of course that doesn't have such great consequence. So then he goes he goes back to the sea, and he's looking at, you know, he meets some people, and he's telling them the story and giving them a game to do, you know, and then from there he goes to Texas, where the Imaginos story. You know, he's recalling where he grew up, but he's also moving on to, he's now realizing that he can shapeshift, you know, which is not something that most people can do. Then he goes past the last exit to Texas, and he goes into Mexico, where he has the sickness. He gets on a boat to go back to Texas, but they throw him off the boat in the Gulf of Mexico because he's sick. The aliens find him and nurse him back to health and tell him where he can find this treasure that he's looking for. He finds the treasure, brings it to his granddaughter in England, and she gets it for her birthday. And meanwhile, there's a celebration in New Orleans. The invisible ones have coming to celebrate Imaginos, bringing their power and spreading it to Europe. Right? So that's the story. That's the story of Imaginos as I see it. So far. We'll have another story next fall. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hopefully this answered some burning questions some people might have. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Ring that little bell. Click that bell if you want to be notified when I do a new video. And we'll see you next week.